I was never a big jogger. In fact, I hated the thought of getting myself out there and running. I was a lazy type of person. Always loved the idea of being fit, but never having the will to actually do it. Thankfully, my partner kept on at me to keep going for a run, and so I started. I always ran alone, as I felt a little embarrassed by how little of a distance I could go, and my partner was understanding of that. My route was always the same, a very long circle close by to where I lived. Most of the route consisted of woodland paths, and I loved being out in nature, so it was perfect. I got myself to a level of fitness where I was able to run the route without stopping, but it wasn't done with any kind of speed either. A slow jog, I guess you could say. One morning though, I stepped out my front door and into the cold. I was shivering when I had started to run, but knew I would warm up pretty fast. Just like clockwork, I chucked my headphones in, listened to some music, and did my usual route. Halfway around though, I saw a man on the ground. He seemed to need help. I stopped my jog, took my headphones out, and asked if he was alright. He never looked up to me though, just kept looking to the ground, saying he really needs some help, and asked if I can get closer. I knelt down, and again asked if he was alright. I didn't see any cuts or injuries, but it could have been anything. I asked if he wanted me to call him an ambulance, and just as I looked away to grab my phone, he reaches out and grabs my arm, telling me that it's not him that would be needing help. I told him to get off my arm as he was gripping it tight. I forgot to mention that I am a girl, and really wasn't strong at all. He laughed as he got up, and I could see he looked to be in his 50s, grey in hair, tired eyes, and a bit chubby. He started pulling me towards a banking that led towards a river. I scrambled to get free, screaming even to get any help, but it was around 5 AM. I very rarely saw anyone out at that time. The man quickly pulled me close and wrapped his smoke-covered hand over my mouth as he picked me up and started carrying me over to the riverbank. Out of nowhere, a cyclist came speeding around the corner and spotted the man. He stopped and the man had let me go, making out it was just a game and I was playing along. But the cyclist wasn't buying any of it. He called the police and thankfully this man got arrested. I only briefly talked to them, telling how he pretended to need help, and then dragged me over to the riverbank saying how I'll be the one needing help after he was finished with me. I'm not sure when the police charged him with, and now I have changed up my route and have company every single time. So I am a big runner. Being a young girl, I was very fit. You'd be surprised to hear that I'm actually an introvert. But something about going for a run in all kinds of weather helps me think and to relax. While staying healthy, of course. I run at night, as that's when my mind would usually run wild. On this night though, I wasn't doing the usual circuit run. I was actually running over to my friends to have a movie night. No, I wasn't late, and they did live around an hour run away, so I knew it was going to be good exercise. I packed up a small bag, and I was also staying over, strapped it tight and headed out the front door. Now, I never use headphones whilst running, especially at night. I'm very cautious. I headed through streets as much as I possibly could, before coming to a dreaded and very long path that led through a small section of forest. It was a much quicker route, and I really didn't fancy going back on myself to spend an extra hour getting to my friends. I had come across a guy down this path before, sitting on a bench. He tried stopping me in my run as he yelled something that I couldn't make out. Now I was standing at the entrance. It was pretty dark, with no street lighting. So basically it was a big gamble. And of course I took it. I took a really big deep breath, turned on my headlight and started my jog. Everything was normal. until I saw the same man in the middle of the path. But this time he was not alone. There were two other guys with him. My light was pretty strong, so I could see them for quite some distance. I stopped and turned to go back, but as I did, there was a man coming my way, blocking my escape. I started to panic a little. They all started to run towards me as I just took off down the forest. I knew if I went down rather than up, it would lead back to society. I was sure of it. I ran through stinging nettles, scraping my legs on branches as I could hear them shouting that they would get me, and I best run. One of them was even laughing, thinking it was a game. I will admit, I had tears running down my face now as I ran as fast as I could. I couldn't look back. I just saw some lights ahead. It was someone's backyard. I literally cried out for help as I could feel one of them pretty close behind me. Now I'm not sure how I did it, but I vaulted up someone's backyard fence and fell to the ground. I looked up to see if anyone was coming, and then sprinted towards the house, banging on the front door. They eventually answered and quickly called the police. I told them about a group of men chasing me in the forest. They took me seriously and even said about going to the hospital as my legs were pretty torn up. But I just called my mum to come and get me. Then called my friend saying I wouldn't be over that night. And now I stay very far away from that path, regardless of how quick it is. I'll try to keep this short, as I like to be straight to the point. I'm a guy, and had taken up running a few years back. I always go for a run with my dog, Maisie. She's a German Shepherd. We ran at sunset. It was the perfect time in my eyes. This evening, it was raining and very windy. It really wasn't the weather I wanted to be in, but so be it. Maisie always ran off the lead, as she tended to run off slightly to smell around, but always came back. And so we headed out the front door. Our path did go through the woods. I know how cliche that sounds, but the woods literally was on my back doorstep, so it was just convenient. Maisie was sticking by my side for most of it, but started to run off once we got into the woods. I had to call her multiple times as she smelt around too much and wasn't really listening. I was considering putting her on a lead, as I always carried it with me just in case. But an hour into our run, Maisie ran off into the woods. I stopped and called after her multiple times, but she never came back to me. The rain and wind was blocking a lot of the sounds out, but before it had become complete darkness, I was able to see her growling towards a tree. "Come on, girl, let's go." I tried getting her to run back with me, but she continued growling, even started to bark. I really couldn't see anything, and light was starting to fade, and fast. I dragged her away, but I heard someone call out, "Hey you, come here. I want to talk with you, but your dog is scary." I looked at the tree and could see someone poking their head out. I took a step back, saying I have to get back, but he seemed determined to talk. "If you don't come here, my angry side will come out, and I will kill you both. You don't want that, do you?" I thought this guy was on drugs, or had something wrong with him. But I edged around to have a better look at this person. But as I circled, this man circled around the tree. It was like a little game. Maisie was barking constantly. She was never aggressive, but I took this as a warning and said I have to get back. I turned around to get back on the path, and I heard a man run from the tree towards me. Luckily, I put Maisie on the lead and I ran as fast as I could out of the woods. I looked back as Maisie really wanted to stay, barking and having me drag her along. Now, I know you would say to just let Maisie protect me, but when I looked back, I saw what I thought to be a knife, and I really didn't want anything to happen to her, or myself. When we got out of the woods though, he hadn't appeared. I didn't stop running though, I continued, whilst also keeping Maisie on the lead. Safe to say, I still go back for those woods, more in middle of the day times.